All right, let's then focus and talk about the other big headline of the day, and that is indeed our big story right here on India Tonight. No fare hike, no increase in freight charges, and despite a spike in wage bill and depleting revenues, no demand for additional budgetary support as well. It's a fine balancing act by Suresh Prabhu, who presented his second railway budget under the Modi government. There is a 20% jump in capital expenditure, which Prabhu plans to meet mainly by trimming costs and roping in private investors. From the business point of view, the biggest takeaway is the announcement of a holding company which will help Indian Railways monetize its assets.
On the funding part, Prabhu is betting big on LIC, which will chip in around 1.5 lakh crore rupees over 5 years. He's hoping for a big push from multilateral agencies, while the railways will issue rupee bonds to bridge the shortfall. The Prime Minister's pet project, the bullet train, finds a place in the budget, with Prabhu announcing that an SPV will be created with the Japanese government. There's something for Mumbai as well, with the budget proposing 2 elevated corridors for suburban railways. Prabhu's pragmatic but not so populist railway budget is our big story on India Tonight.
Indian Railways is the country's lifeline, the largest state department. So large that every year it has a budget of its own. So large it is a big political tool. So large that its finances sometimes can be very daunting. And so when Suresh Prabhu, an accomplished chartered accountant, rose to present his second rail budget, hope was flying high. Prabhu walked a tightrope. His worst critics will grant him good intention. But he chose to sprinkle his document with populism, much like many of his predecessors. He did not hike passenger fare, nor did he hike freight rate either. But he has expanded the commodity basket for freight, a move to rake in higher revenues. After all, freight contributes to 67% of rail earnings. And the idea is to widen the catchment area. In his second railway budget, Prabhu has decided to increase capital expenditure by 20% to 1.21 lakh crores. There is a big thrust to modernize infrastructure and electrifying railway lines. He has promised timetabled freight trains and 3 new dedicated freight corridors. In fact, an Uber suggestion to introduce rail tickets with biometrics has been welcomed by industry. Prabhu does realize he will be cash crunched, so in a bid to rake in moolah from non-tariff sources, the railway minister has proposed to monetize rail assets and cash in on the huge database with IRCTC. The proposal is to form a holding company where assets of about 14 rail PSUs will be transferred and monetized after that. Indian Railways is also looking to tap the high potential of e-commerce and ad revenues.
Indian Railway typically has focused on increasing revenues through tariff hikes. We want to change that and challenge our conventional thinking on freight policies to win back our share on the transportation sector. We will exploit new sources of revenue so that every asset, tangible or non-tangible, gets optimally monetized.
The red on Prabhu's report card today, however, was the worsening operating ratio, which will surge to 92% next year from 88.5% last year. Operating ratio is the revenue railway uses to run its operations, and it will rise thanks to the higher wage bills for an entity that employs about 13.5 lakh people.
While Mr. Prabhu's budget is well-intentioned, it lacks concrete steps to pull in private investment. His move to tap non-tariff sources is welcome, but the core business of railways is passenger and freight, which he has unfortunately not touched. And so everything else will just be a poor substitute.
Railways is the big engine of growth and infrastructure investment. Will the train now speed up? It is over to Finance Minister Arun Jaitley to do the heavy lifting come Monday. With Krishanu Mukherjee, Ruchi Bhatia, ET Now, New Delhi.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/ETNow.